this time. Here you go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You are tuned into Conversations with Whiskey Blue.
And Eric, too.
And this evening, our episode is on homelessness, humanity, hope, and the road home.
Yeah, we're stepping into sensitive territory with this episode. Homelessness isn't just a social issue, it's a human story, a spiritual story, and a community story.
And one of the things that we want you all to know is that homelessness is not a character flaw, it's a circumstance.
Homelessness can affect anybody, families, LGBTQI+, the youth, veterans, seniors, people escaping violence, people facing economical collapse, and you could probably add a few more to that list.
And we want to share tonight, as we talk about homelessness, what homelessness actually looks like today. It can be shelters. Homelessness can shelters, couch surfing. Some people are homeless living in cars or encampments. And so we just want to have that conversation tonight because there are common causes for homelessness, such as job loss, medical bills, domestic violence, discrimination, mental health challenges, lack of affordable housing is one. And we want to have that conversation tonight and talk about it because you cannot necessarily look at a person and tell whether they're homeless or not, you know. And there was this, as we were talking before the show, even with Rob, he brought out that there's a stigma that is so attached to homelessness. So we're grateful to be here. Hopefully you will be educated tonight and see things, you know, in a way that you may have never seen them before. We have with us tonight Robert, and we also have Nate with us. They both agreed to come on and be guests with us on tonight. We want to talk about some of the myths versus the realities. We want to talk. Eric has some statistics for us on tonight as we go a little further. And Eric, do you want to share some of that before we open up for Nate and for Rob to come on and share?
Sure. Some of you may know that we live in Illinois in the county of Champaign. And right now, as of the point in time count, which is a program that counts homeless people, there are, let me find my place here, I lost it. 355 individuals who were sheltered in emergency shelters or unsheltered or transitional housing. From 2024 to 2025, this rose from 64 to 75 of under 18, and the homeless household increased by 63 in 225. A lot of that having to do with everything we listed, everything from fires to economic, all of that. So let's spread out a little bit. Let's do the whole state of Illinois. As of the last count, there are 14,571 people in the state of Illinois that are homeless. For the entire United States, 771,480 as of 2024. For the world, we have 318 million people. 2.8 billion lack adequate housing. So, as you know, I mean, as you can tell, the more you expand from just your little world, the entire planet has an issue with homelessness. It is something that we need to get our officials to keep looking at and keep working on. I know that there are some programs that do that, but every year the numbers increase. And that should be an issue. That should be a major issue for everyone.
Indeed, indeed. And so as we get into this on tonight, and we want you both to as much share your stories as much as you want to. So I'm going to let you all share before I share anything. But what I do want to say to everyone is that we've all heard the phrase, don't judge a book by its cover. And the same goes for homelessness. There's always more to someone's story than meets the eye. And so we want to open up for our guests to share with us on this evening. And the reason why I let them go first is because I want to know what they want to share, and then I'll piggyback off of that, because I never want to share someone else's story, you know. But I will share once they share how I met. And we're going to go to Rob first, and we'll talk, man, as well. Talk to us, Rob, about homelessness.
All right, I'm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina now, and I had suffered some addiction issues and lost my job, and ended up at New Directions, which has limited space, and it's tough here. There's a lot of homeless, and when I was there, I met a lot of good people, and that's where I realized, like, homelessness can come from different things. Like, some people lose their job, and it's not all from the guy drinking or the addiction, or it's not all bad people. And that's kind of what I want to share about, is like, the stigma, like I was saying, that homeless people get shunned and treated with hate, and oh, they're beggars, and these people are God's children too, and we all need to try to help our brothers and sisters out when they're in need like that. And then people can recover from homelessness, and that's exactly how I recovered. I had people help me. They saw something in me, and seen that the homelessness and past my addiction, there is a good person in there, and I was one of God's children, and they helped me out. So if we help other people, then we can if we all chip in, it will help to end the homelessness, because I mean, you're never going to end it, but you just try to do what you can and help, and try not to treat it with love and not hate.
Yeah, and I'm glad that's why I wanted you to talk first and share first. I met you in Myrtle Beach, South
Yes,
Carolina,
sir.
at New Directions Homeless Shelter.
Yes,
And
sir.
actually, when I first came there, I remember they have when you walk in the back, the first section that you're put into is they call it the trailer park for some reason,
Yeah,
and
it's
then
set up like a jail.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
afterwards, after a few weeks of being there, they moved me into what they called the condos. And me and you were actually in a condo together. You slept on the bunk across from me on the top, and I slept
Yes,
on the
sir.
bunk across from you on the bottom. There was 4 of us in that particular section. There was no door on it, but it was right off from what they called the trailer park. And then after that, they moved me upstairs to what they called the penthouse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I met you there, man, and we have continued to stay in touch. And like you said, I met some great people there. Some other fellas that I still stay in touch with. Some of them that I try to stay in touch with, but they've never responded back. So I don't know whether their phones got changed or off or what the case may be. But met you, man. I'm grateful to have met you, man, and to have you as a part of my life, even not just while I was there, but continuous now how we stay in touch with one another, man. I thank you for sharing your story. Let's see, Nate, you want to share with us?
Man, thank you for having me. It's so much. Let me preface this that if I go off on a tangent, please reel me in.
Okay.
I, I can talk. But it's so much that I can say about this. Dealing with it myself, seeing other people deal with it. I believe Robert said a lot of good things, especially as it relates to job loss. A lot of people financially they become homeless because of job loss. He mentioned addiction. One thing about addiction is that people really don't talk about. Addiction isn't because people just have a problem. Sometimes people are addicted because they're coping because they have other problems, right?
Yes.
And along with that, there you have your functional addicts who do it because they just need to get through the day. It's not necessarily a big
Mhm.
problem with drinking or drugs, because I have a problem with getting up and going to this job that I have to work because this is all I got. And so I have to do this to get through my day. And so because of that, a lot of people they become homeless because of that. Um, a lot of my story, a lot of my involvement with myself and others who've been homeless, I've even seen individuals who, because of family abandonment, family issues, right? You see it a lot in the LGBTQIA community. You see it with individuals who are quote unquote addicts because the family says, oh, well, addicts, they gonna steal from you. They just gonna want money. I don't want them coming around. It's all this stigma, right? It's all these things that go along with it, that smacked on you when you're labeled an addict or when you're labeled someone who has mental health issues. That's the other issue, and I think I was sharing with Whiskey Blue that I've been in the mental health hospitals where they don't have psychiatrists there to diagnose bipolar disorder. They don't have doctors there to diagnose um, schizophrenia or any other mental health disorders. All they're doing is just medicating folk and sending them on their way, and then it's a vicious cycle. They find them coming right back again. excuse me, and it's problematic because no one is really dealing with the folks. No one is dealing with the human being. They only see the problem. They only see
Right.
they only see the mental health. They only see the instability. They don't see that, hey, I am a human being, just like you are. And so if I am an addict, if I am homeless, if I do not have a job, there is a reason. It ain't always because of the individual. And so I believe in bringing awareness to becoming more human and dealing with the human part of things and not necessarily the situational part of things.
Right.
Because if we really start dealing with the human part of things, the situational stuff will fix itself because we'll be more empathetic with each other and, we'll see each other for who we are and not what we're experiencing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's very important is when we look at it to understand that the one of the that myths and assumptions fuel harmful narratives.
Mhm.
And we must challenge the belief that unhoused people are undeserving of empathy and support to help individuals, families, and the community in homelessness. And every one of us that's here on this evening have experienced homelessness on some level and everything like that presently. And as we talk about this particular topic on tonight, we said it in the episode title: homelessness, humanity, hope, and the road home. And so me myself presently, as I'm on the road home, I'm living in a transitional house. But at one point I was staying in a shelter. I remember when I was in New Directions, I had to go to in the morning, you woke up and you had to have this fellowship. And then after that, you had to go to meetings throughout the day because certain homeless shelters are set up in different ways, you know. And I remember listening to one of the guys there that was one of the big people there would share so much. And I kept having to ask myself, well, what's my problem? Because it'd be like he was drilling into me that if you're here for a reason. And I couldn't figure out what my reason was for being there. You know what I'm saying? Because my story is a story that I was living in Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? And though I wasn't in the greatest place in Baltimore, because I was living amongst mice, you know, and rodents and stuff like that, but I had my own place. But I went to check on my brother. And I was fine in Baltimore, but I went to check on my brother, and then checking on my brother, not long after he wanted me to stay with him, I stayed with him. And because he wanted me there, I then went and moved my things out of my place in Baltimore to be with him, because he was just like me, no children, wasn't married, you know, and single. And so he wanted me there, so I went to be there with him. I kind of didn't think he was going. I thought some things were happening with him, but he wasn't completely forthwith with me. And sometimes that kind of run, I think, in my family, because I'm told that my mother, when she knew she had cancer, she knew way before she actually told us. Well, my brother didn't tell me what his situation was. I went there, and 3 months after getting there to him, you know, he passed away. He had a house. You know, he had what you call property that he was purchasing and things he had accumulated. And my siblings who did not show up for him in his life, they showed up after he died, or like in the last 3 days. You know what I mean? They came in, and there was stuff that he had that they wanted. You know what I'm saying? And they just didn't work with me to get that stuff done. So I left, got on the road, not knowing where I was going. My car broke down in Myrtle Beach. And then I ended up in the hospital for weeks. And when the car got finished being fixed, they wouldn't give me my car back because they wanted all these storage fees on top. But I couldn't leave the hospital because I was being held in the hospital. So I became homeless when they finally released me. And I ended up living under a tree across the street, staying under a tree at across from New Directions during the day. And then I went into the overnight shelter because it was the weekend. And then I went on and signed in on that Monday. And I've been on my road to home ever since. I've now ended up here in Champaign, Illinois. Thank God for a resource here. Because I'm HIV positive, you know, at the same time. And so I ended up finding a resource here where I could stay for up to 2 years, you know, as I work on finding an apartment and everything. And so I'm on my road to home, but I'm not there yet, you know. But I promise you, I drive for Uber every day. I do peritoneal dialysis. I've gotten involved with some support groups. And to look at me, you would never know that I'm homeless unless I tell you my story, you know. But I'm not going to tell anyone that it's easy, but it's figure outable if you really have a desire, you know, to figure it out. There are resources out there that we can use. Come on and jump in, Eric. You're quiet back there tonight.
No, I'm just listening. I would like to go back to something Nate said, that they're not treating the cause of the situation. I think we can all agree that the system's pretty broken.
Right.
That goes from everything from mental health to affordable housing. So when you have several of those situations all handed to you on a plate and you have to deal with them, you have to decide which one you're going to approach first, which one is the most important to deal with at this very moment. For some, it is getting an addiction dealt with and the cause of that addiction. For some, it is loss of a job. And I think Robert, before we came on, had mentioned some families, their house burns down and they have no one to help. Yes, some communities are great. Hey, you need clothes. You lost all your clothes. We'll give you this and this. But at a certain point, it kind of stops. And you have to get back up on your feet and proceed to fix that problem. Whiskey, you and I have talked many times about how we feel that humanity in itself has lost has lost empathy. I mean, we see it on TV, we see it on YouTube. Somebody's shot down in the street and there's a group of people filming it instead of helping. We just, to get back our humanity, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do on the system. Mental health. Since I moved to Illinois, I have figured out that mental health is very important here where we live. It's not even something where I come from that was ever talked about. You go in and you say, hey, I'm broke, I need some food. They'll throw food at you. But how's your emotion? How are you handling stuff? So I don't know. To make a long story short, I think the system is broke from the get-go. Like I said, from mental health to not paying a living wage, to a lot of businesses closing down, you name it. There's a reason that so many people are homeless, and I can't say it's their fault or not their fault. It's the situation. You may have everything in the world going for you, and then all of a sudden your boss says, hey, we're closing the business and we'll be out of here in a week. But you're not able to find a new job in a week. And then bills start getting unpaid and all of that stuff. So it's not always the person's issue as to why they're homeless. But at the same time, not everybody on the street is not going to understand that. I remember many years ago in a town I lived in, there were a lot of homeless people. It was a bigger city. And I was going to work. I worked at night. I worked in a bar. And for whatever reason, there was like this encampment not far from the bar. And we had to walk past there. And one of the guys that I worked with, they're like, they're all crackheads or they're all alcoholics, so why bother? That still gives me chills because that's not always the case. Especially in a larger city, it's probably lack of affordable housing more than likely, because it's just too expensive anywhere now. So anyway, that's my spiel.
Rob, so both Rob, I don't know about Nate, but I do know with Rob and Eric, you were like Rob before we came on, you were saying that you now have your own place. So I met you at the shelter, and then you ended up in some transitional housing, and now you're in your own place. Talk to us about Talk to us about that journey for you.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say something about what Eric was saying there, and those people that I used to kind of before, I was so. You were talking about walking past the tent, the encampment, and people, saying, "Okay, crackhead, whatever, drunk." Well, we have to remember, and people have to remember that these are still people. They're children of God too. Nobody wakes up and says, "Hey, I'm going to go be a crackhead one day," or "I'm going to put a needle in my arm," or "I'm going to have a mental illness," or "My house is going to burn down."
Right.
Nobody chooses to do this. I mean, maybe, with addiction, you choose, but like somebody else mentioned, like there's underlying problems that lead up to addiction. Nobody definitely wants to go and be an addict.
Right.
But so I had some underlying problems, and that led me up to it. And like Kenton said, I ended up at New Directions. Well, my journey from there, I found out, and Kenton can probably agree with this because he heard it many times, like he said, drilled in our head. If you listen, it's a spiritual problem. All these problems come from inside of us, I think. Like we have, loss of family or friends, or even just people's basically their hearts get crushed for some reason, or there's some kind of the trauma inside them that leads them to go use or drink or ends them up into this situation. Nobody says like, "Hey, I just want to go and be homeless today." I don't, I never, and there's a lot of good people that get caught up into this, whether it be from pain pills or alcohol, which is sold every corner. And I think really like the whole treat it with love, not hate thing, like if we are more empathetic to people and we help each other, people do recover. I don't know about all your guys' stories, but I know for sure in my story, if somebody didn't care enough about me more than I did at the time, I wouldn't be here today. So I can, that, and by the grace of God and lots of prayers. And also Kenton touched on it, it's going to take work, it's going to take work, you gotta want it, but there is help out there and there are still good people. And if we can get more people to be more helpful, then I think we can do, a lot more good instead of walking past the tent and saying, "Oh, those are crackheads and those are drunks." Maybe go over and see if they need some food or something, or see how you can help, or maybe it's just somebody to talk to about their problems. A lot of times, believe me, somebody just needs somebody to talk to or complain to about their problems and just see from a different perspective that's not theirs at the time. Because when you're down like that, you get into negative thoughts and negative behavior, and then you just need somebody to show you that there is a way that you can heal this spiritual and these problems. And then if need be, there is medical help and places like shelters where you can go. And if you work them right, as I did, you can get into your own little transitional house. I met a guy at the shelter, and he eventually wasn't working at the shelter anymore because we lost somebody passed away in there, and he found him, and it kind of crushed him. So he left on, but he went and he was running a recovery house. So I was talking to him the whole time I was at the shelter, and he got me into a recovery house 4.5 months into the shelter. And this whole time I'm going to meetings, I'm trying to, fight my addiction and get to the root of my problems that got me there. And, and I continue to do that still. And so lived there for probably about 6 months. And, I can't count how many people reached their hand out or talked to me along the way and helped me. And if it wasn't for those people, I wouldn't have the gratitude and got here today where I am.
Okay.
So, I mean, I really think it's all about just loving our brothers and sisters, and helping each other out regardless of their addictions or, cause trust me, I never in my life said I'm going to wake up one day and I want to be a heroin addict and be homeless and a drunk.
Yeah.
Nobody says that. I have never heard
No.
anybody say that. So,
No.
Right.
you got to find the human in there and help them bring it out, with love.
Yeah. Can I say
You bet. Go ahead, Nate.
3 points? Because you, Eric, you had said something, about the whole, people they may have their house burnt down, and that may end up, they may end up homeless in that way, and really addressing the root of problems. But what I found also is that you're talking about how we have to address the root. A lot of times, people who have mental health issues, and you were talking about how which one do I deal with? Do I deal with the mental health? Do I deal with the homelessness? Right, the addiction? Right. What I found is that because we don't address the real problems, you have people who have mental health issues or who have addiction issues, who may go and get their own space, but because the mental health or the addiction has not been addressed, they're going to end up homeless right again. Right. And then, you have that stigma all over again saying, oh, well, they're just unstable. They can't keep a job, or they can't keep a home, because the actual issue has not been addressed. The mental health has not been addressed. That is why we need actual doctors and therapists in these mental health wards, right?
Yeah.
So they are being diagnosed and they're getting the help that they need. The other thing is, a lot of this I heard Robert talk about it, how, the one town where there was like, oh, they're just crackheads, just leave them alone. That's just who they are. The other thing that we really need to address is the actual systematic system, right? Or systematic structure that we have in America, right? Let's talk about that caste system, right? Because the way America was created, it was created to keep certain people poor and certain people in poverty, right? And because we're still in that system, we're going to continue to have people homeless. We're going to continue to have people in poverty. We're going to continue to have people becoming addicts because they don't have enough money to do what they need to do. And the job is stressing them out, and the job is not paying them enough money. And so they become addicts because they got to cope just to get through the day. Right. And so when we really talk about the system and we really talk about really change and how do we address this issue, that's, for me, that's one of the things that needs to be talked about. What do we do to change this caste system that we're in, so that we are not, because how many years has it been since segregation, right? Yet we still have racism. Yet we still have people that are being discriminated against. Yet we still have people who are being killed, right? Who are being murdered for no reason, for just insane reasons, like it's ridiculous, right? So because this has been 50, 60 years since that time, right? But yet we still see these same issues. One of the quotes that I love the most is, and my mind just went blank. Oh, insanity is doing the same things, expecting a different result.
Absolutely.
Right? Still using the same system, doing the same things. We talk about homelessness. We talk about people who don't have enough food. We talk about people who don't make enough money, who are poverty stricken. But we have not done nothing to change the system that was built to create that. Right. And so when we can really address the actual system, right, because it's flawed, as you said before, Eric, it's completely flawed. And so we have to, who are the doctors that are going to come in and say, hey, I'm willing to put therapists and psychiatrists on my ward, right? Because I want to see a difference in the people that come. I don't want to see the turnover rate, right? I don't want to see you coming back to this hallway again. I want to see you become better. I want to see you have your own place, right? Addressing that system, and also understanding that we are human. So as human beings, there's certain social developments and human developments that we have had that creates these things perpetually, right? Which is why people can say, oh, but they just crackheads, just leave them where they at. Because they've been socialized and developed to say, well, those are the type of people that you don't care about because they don't care enough about themselves. So why should I? That is the stigma behind it, right? And human beings, we have to change that narrative. Like, it's no, yeah, they have issues. Yeah, they may be strung out. Yeah, they may be an addict, but there is a reason, right? It's just like any other thing that we deal with as human beings. There's a reason why people are HIV positive. There's a reason why people have cancer. It's not necessarily because it's something that they did, right? It's because there's certain things that create certain things. And when we start dealing with those things, you won't have cancer. When you stop producing foods that are harmful to our bodies, the cancer
Oh,
will go down.
preach,
Right?
preach.
But it's so right. We just talk about it and we say, oh, well, we can't do that because this is my business and I'm going to lose so much money. But that's the problem. Your business
Yep.
is killing people. So when are we going to start saying, because your business is killing me, then how can I say that you need to go to prison for killing folk, for assassinating folk? Because this is domestic terrorism when you do things of this nature. But we don't talk about it, right? Because
Right.
people want to make money. People want to be
Right.
successful. People want to, live this lavish life while other folk are dying, while other folk are suffering. And it's not right. And until we start really seeing each other as human beings in that way, that's when we'll see the changes. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand completely what you said. The system is broken. Until we start fixing that, we're going to continue getting the same effect.
Yeah.
You touched on the food, our processed food. That's a whole different
Right.
show, but I so agree with that. Yes, and having psychiatrists and psychologists on a board where the mental health is addressed more than just pushing pills.
Right.
Okay, you're an alcoholic. Let's give you this pill and it'll get better. No, it won't.
No.
Figure out the reason one becomes whatever.
Yeah.
That's your starting point. You're skirting the main issue, which is what would solve the problem if you would address it.
Exactly.
So,
I so totally understand what you're saying, Nate, and thank you for saying that.
so
Go ahead.
let me chime in real quick, because there's been so much said, and for one, if and it is, I agree with you about the system and everything like that. But if it's a matter of the rich and the poor, and stuff like that, it's already clear that I'm not saying all rich people, wealthy people, but many of them, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, so who is going to be responsible for the solution? Because people that are wealthy are not necessarily, not necessarily all of them are not going to be willing to give it because they feel like they're going. Listen, I see today so many people online, and if you notice, even when they're doing, many people who claim to be rich or who have ideals or things that can help empower other people, but they're not giving away for free. You know what I'm saying? Have you noticed that you see all of this stuff online and people will bait you with what they have, but they're saying if you come to but then they want to charge you, even if they say you can come to the class for free. You know what I mean? Once you get there, then they want to charge you. But if a person already is struggling and don't have the finances and everything like that, how do they even do that? So it's like people are constantly, some even having the information, but not willing to give that information away to help empower people for free. And I'm not saying all people, you know what I'm saying, but you see that a lot out there. And so I want to talk about that. What is the solution? You know what I'm saying? And then I also, before we leave tonight, want us to also talk about resources for someone who's facing, because someone out there that can be rich and wealthy right now, and tomorrow morning they can be homeless, or before the night is over they can be homeless. What are some of the resources or things that we can give them to help them on that road? You know what I'm saying? If they find themselves in a place of homelessness as well. So I know I said a lot, but you all chime in from there.
Well, I want to jump back to who's going to solve the problem. That would be us, the poor. When the poor stand up and say, enough is enough, we've played this game since the beginning of civilization. We're tired of it. We're tired of doing all the work that benefits someone else instead of ourselves. When you pay us a living wage, when you pay your fair share of taxes, when you do this, when you do that, then we're working towards a more level playing field. I don't begrudge the rich by any means. Good for them. Yay. But stop taking from us. You're putting us in a situation to where we can't even supply a roof over our head or food on our table because they've become so greedy. I mean, how many billions of dollars do you actually need? Fucking hell.
Exactly.
Give me a break.
Right, you can't take it with you.
Right. But
Yeah.
This is what I have learned and I've come to understand. The rich is rich because of whatever they've done, whether they've been successful in their business, whether they've inherited it because of the generational wealth. Regardless, what I have found to be true is that we have gotten it backwards. Wealth is not for individualistic success and parlaying and vacationing and good living. Wealth is for community. The money is for all of us. And when the billionaires learn that, then we can start seeing changes. Because with just the 1% of the wealthy in America, we can end homelessness today.
Right.
That 1%, that's 1%.
Yep.
Right? But because we have gotten this mentality that the wealth is just for me, screw you and your family. I worked hard for this. I ain't got time to be dealing with you. I ain't got time to be responsible for you. I don't have to make my choices are my choices. I'm not responsible for your life. I live my life for my life. Forget you. No, that's not how it's supposed to be. The wealth is for all of us. It's not for just one of us. And until we can understand that and change that, that's where it starts.
Yep. I totally agree.
Yeah. And I want to say this as well. Like some of you know, like Rob, y'all hear Rob calls me Kenton because he met me as Kenton. Although I now go by Whiskey Blue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, apologize. Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. I will answer to Kenton. I just like to be called Whiskey Blue, But one of the things is that changed my life even before I became homeless is that I had a second stroke. All of my life, I was a singer, traveling the road. Yeah. And then I had a stroke that affected my ability to sing like I used to. So all of the music that I recorded, you know what I'm saying, that I have CDs out there, I couldn't even sing that. And then the other side of it is after becoming homeless and leaving the family in South Carolina, I lost all of my tracks and everything there. So even if I could sing, I don't have none of that stuff. I lost everything. Wow. You know what I'm saying? I have no connection. I had to start all over again. But I'm still here. And I'm grateful that I don't look like what I've been through or even what I'm still journeying through at this period of time. But at one point, I did look like what I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? But it's been a journey. And there are things that I experienced through this. Like, I'm grateful that out of the hospital in Myrtle Beach, they told me about New Direction Shelter. But I also want to say, if you find yourself on the verge of becoming homeless or homeless and you're looking at this, another resource is to dial 211, because that's wherever area you are in, 211, you can pretty much call and let them know your situation and they can give you resources. You may have to make those phone calls and stuff like that, but you can do. And a lot of time, if you don't have a phone, there are phones, you can get government phones today. You know what I'm saying? It may not be the same as having your own phone that you pay for every month. You know what I mean? Because there may be some data stuff with it or whatever that you may not get as much or unlimited data, but there are ways that you can have a phone. Make sure you take time to have your ID. You know, you're going to need an ID. You're going to probably end up needing your birth certificate and everything like that. But when I was in Myrtle Beach, I went to the coffee house, you know, and found someone there to help me get access to my birth certificate. You know, while I was at New Direction, it was going to have to be paid for. But at the coffee house, they helped me get it where I didn't have to pay for it. You know, so there are resources, and there will be things if you find yourself homeless that you're going to need your ID, your birth certificate. You know, even if you're getting into low income housing, 9 times out of 10, they're going to ask you for your birth certificate. You know what I'm saying? They're going to ask you for your ID. These are things that while you are homeless, you know, you can start utilizing those resources so that as you move towards, you know, moving into your own place, you won't be find yourself not having what you need. Get that stuff while you're homeless. Anyone want to chime in there? I don't know what it was like for you, Rob. You know what I'm saying? So how you found out about New Directions, you know, because you lived in Myrtle Beach. I didn't live there. I was new there. So the hospital was the one that recommended me to, when I got out, they referred me to New Directions, you know, and I'm sure there are other ways that people get into shelters and stuff like that, but that's how I found out. I didn't know nothing about, I heard about shelters, but I had never lived in a shelter and never had to use a shelter as a resource, you know, and I was going through medical situations as well. So, those are just some of the things I want to put out there, that there are resources. And this is a resource I have now, staying in this place called GCAP, you know what I'm saying, in Champaign, Illinois. Another resource that they have been very helpful to me getting back up on my feet and moving forward and stuff like that. Actually, I'm on the board of directors for this particular organization now, you know, so there's a lot of things that are happening, but there's definitely work that has to be done in the process. Go ahead.
Question, Whiskey, because one thing that I've also, because you brought this up, because you said that you were not from Myrtle Beach, you were just visiting because you ended up there, right? So my question would be, can we talk about, because I've noticed that even in my own experience, there's a difference between people when you go to certain states will not help certain individuals if they're not from that state. They'll only go so far, you know, if you're not from that state, because what they want to say is, well, you made yourself homeless in order to get the resource, but that's not always the case, especially in your case, right? So I would love to hear the difference with Robert, someone who's from there, what his resources look like and his experience look like versus yours and what you were offered based on someone who was not from the area.
Okay, so I mean, I'm originally from Michigan, but I have lived down here quite some time. And I did know about New Directions, and I knew they had a shelter, but I didn't decide to go there. So when I knew I was coming up to be homeless, what I did is I found, and this is also how I got sober from, like, I learned how to live from a homeless man. I learned how to not drink from another alcoholic, you know. So I found other people that I seen that had been homeless, and they had told me, you know, and then come up out of it. And I asked them, how did they do it? And they said, well, I went to New Directions. So reaching out for help, you know, and there's a lot of places here you can get help now. It's getting more. I think they're about to build another shelter in Conway also, maybe 2 shelters. And but I have been homeless, and I was homeless in Florida at one time, and basically that was my way of finding it. I just went and found other homeless people and asked them how they did it, and carefully picked, you know, ones that I think that were on the same path as me. I mean, if people you see, and I know Kenton's seen it, there's a turnover rate. Like, you see people coming in and out of the shelters, and they're not as serious. And, you know, so I said, okay, this guy, he keeps coming in and out, I'm not going to talk to him. And that's why me and Kenton got to talking, because we were both, you know, trying to get out of this situation. We weren't just using the place as a crutch, you know. And we've seen a lot of people coming in and out from, they have a mental health facility down here. And like you said, You know, they go there, they're there for 5 days, they keep them drugged up the whole time, but they don't get to the root of the problem. They send them over to New Directions afterwards. Well, they run out of their meds over there, and then they go out back in the streets and, you know, go on a rant or hurt somebody or do whatever, steal from somebody, or just, you know, the cops get them for loitering and they end up back in there. Well, I've had the opportunity to go there and actually speak to the people because I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, which I get a lot of help through there. If anybody ever needs resources, it's not just for alcoholics, NA and AA. You can go there and these people can point you in the right direction too. I mean, not just even just like I said with addiction, but they can help you find the resources. So in AA and NA is in all across the world. So you can go and find an AA or an NA meeting, go in there and be honest with these people, and they can help you too. That's a good resource. That probably has been one of my greater resources in my situation.
Wow. And I think that's important that you even asked Rob that question as well. I think everyone on here has some kind of lived experience. And I think it was very unique how Rob brought out that he spoke with other people who had experienced homelessness and went through it and had come out of it and everything, that because that's a great resource. People, and you hear what I'm saying, humans, people who have lived the experience of homelessness can be a great resource as well to reach out to and to get information for. If they've been through it, then they are qualified to help give you information because they've been through it and they have gone through it and found their way to a home and everything as well. So that's very important. And no matter where a person is on that road, you know, if they've experienced any part of it, then they're able to give you some insight from their lived experience. Thank you for sharing that, Rob, for real.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah.
Good too about making sure, you know, picking one that fits the journey that you want to be on, because there's these out there that don't really care about the homeless. They just want that money. They want that grant. They, you know, they don't really people, you know, and I've experienced, you know, situations where people, they have ulterior motives behind why they do what they do. It ain't really about, you know, humanity. Right. And so I good point is really being careful about which organization are you using and which ones are really helping folk versus which ones are just passing you through. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fair to say that there are some cities, you know, that getting housing may have more affordable housing than others, you know, and then others it's going to take more time. Like it's taking time. I'm in my second year here at GCAT, and I'm number 5 on the list for an apartment that I filled out for and everything, because the unique piece is I get SSI, so I get a check every month. You know what I'm saying? When you talk about finding affordable housing, I need to find housing that I can get subsidized, you know what I mean, because of what my SSI check is every month. Because if I just go out and get a place, you know what I'm saying, then I run the risk of, if I can't afford it, starting this cycle all over again. So I stay where I'm at with hopes that before the end of this year, I will move up that list to number 1 and get moved into that complex, you know what I'm saying, which my rent will be based upon my SSI check, you know what I'm saying? So I'm grateful that I'm on that road, but I still have to wait. It's a waiting game because housing here in the area that I live in, affordable housing, is not even as great as it is in some other cities. You know what I'm saying? Some people have been told that they may have been waiting for 6 months and found a place. You know what I'm saying? It's going on 2 years where I'm at, and I haven't actually moved up the list yet. Although I'm optimistic that that's going to change, and then I will end up in an apartment of my own. But it's a challenge at the same time.
Yes, my mom is going through the same thing. She's been on a waiting list for Section 8 or you know, and she's on a fixed income, and she's been waiting for over a year and she has to go and fill out an application at each apartment complex. I mean, there is definitely a lot of footwork involved, but I mean, you got, we got to stay with it. I think it's, just getting back to normal life after homelessness is a struggle, but you just got to keep fighting.
You've got to keep jumping through those hoops, because some programs are much easier than others, and some make you work horribly for them. I mean, it's one thing after another, this and that, and yeah, you just keep going, because you will eventually get there. It may it may feel like it's a never-ending thing, but eventually you will. And just it sounds so stupid to say, just keep a good attitude and your chin up and just keep going. But honestly, that's the best you can do. I mean, if you want the programs to help you, you've got to do what they ask. And I know it's hard to put a smile on your face every day, and it's like, if I have to fill out another damn application, I get it. We all get it, but stick with it.
Yeah. And I will say this to encourage someone as well, that it may not be the people that you've helped in your life or the people that you think should have helped you that end up helping you. Because a lot of times you may have helped other people, and you may be even taking someone in that was homeless into your place. You know what I'm saying? And then that person found a home, and then you become homeless, but they don't open up their doors for you like you open up your doors for them. But don't become disheartened by it. You know what I'm saying? Because it may not necessarily be the people that you help or that you've done for in your life or that you expect to be there for you to help give you a hand up when you find yourself in this struggle or this particular position in your life. You know what I mean? It may be someone totally different that you never expected. You know what I mean? So I never expected a place like GCAP. But for somehow reason, this is a resource that's to me. But I've helped other people when they were, and all they could say to me was, I'm praying for you, it's going to be better. When I did more than pray for them, I allowed them to come into my place. You know what I'm saying? And some of them took advantage of it once I allowed them to come in. But when they found themselves having a place and I became homeless, they didn't offer a place to me, but then they went out and they got them a dog. You know what I'm saying? So just know it is possible that the very people you expect that would be there for you to lend you a hand, to give you a hand up, may not be there for you, but you have to be encouraged and keep forging ahead, fighting, you know what I'm saying, doing what you need to do for yourself, and somehow or another you'll find those resources. And you can always go online and look up things in your own area. 211 again, going to the library within your area is another place to go. That if you don't have access to computers, you can go to the local library and use computers.
Yeah.
And there are other things that are afforded, to you, whether it be a coffee house or a soup kitchen and different things that are in. And sometimes churches come into the shelters and bring food and stuff as well. So you don't have to starve. That's for one. It may not always get what you like to eat, but when you're hungry, you'll eat what you get.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, y'all. I'm sorry. Y'all go for it.
If anybody's in the New York area, a lot of people don't know this, but if you go to Port Authority, 42nd Street Bus Terminal, Port Authority, all you have to do is just go ask a police officer. There is an office in Port Authority for homelessness.
Oh,
And they
wow.
direct you and give you resources. They would direct you to people who will, if you need food, if you need shelter, if you whatever you need, even if it's just appliances, cooking appliances or clothes or coats or anything that you need, they have an office there in Port Authority and they can assist you. So if anyone needs that resource, is there.
That's awesome.
Nice.
All right. Well, we're about to close out. Is there any final words that each one of you want to give? This, I think we may do a part 2 to this episode. There are other people that even reached out to me that have stories that they want to share as well. So we may continue this for a little while, doing homelessness, humanity, hope, and the road home. You know what I'm saying? And this is episode part 1, but we probably end up doing a part 2 for this as well. And we may do this as long as there are people that want to chime in and help. And maybe we can even get some people working with the homeless in different cities and different places and stuff to come on as well. They can share with us also. So each one of you, I want to say thank you for coming on tonight. Me and Eric, we appreciate y'all coming. But give us some final words, some final thoughts that you want to share with us this evening. Rob, you want to go first?
Yeah, I can. Well, thank you. Yeah, thanks for inviting me, and it was good to meet you too, Nate and Eric. And you know, yeah, I think my whole thing is like, just if we can help one person a day, you know, even and be kind to one person and help another person come up from a struggle and get other people, that person and maybe another person, you know, those numbers add up. And eventually, if everybody just, you know, tries to help everybody, then we would have less of these problems.
Yes. Thank you, Rob.
Yes. I thank you again for having me on. It's been great. It's so much I could have went into because, you know, my side of things is I could have discussed more about the veterans, military veterans, but that's a whole
That will
Right.
be discussed later.
Because Nate, you yourself
Part 2.
are a veteran, aren't you?
Yes, 15 years military veteran.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for your service.
Yes. So I think that there's a lot of, again, this has been so great. There's so much information and a lot of awareness that needs to be given out, put out there. But I'm down for the cause. You know, I think that these conversations are great, but I'm pushing forward to the actions as well. So, you know, having, like you said, having other parts of this and having those individuals come on and say, hey, what are we doing to implement these changes in these mental health hospitals, in these shelters, in these, you know, facilities? What are we going to do to make these changes so that we're seeing the change and not just talking about it? So
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Eric?
I'm gonna lay out some truth. You have to want your final goal. You have to want it. The only person you can really count on is yourself. So if you have to do the lead work, then do the damn leg work. These other people and groups are here to help. They're not going to do it for you. They are only a tool to help you get back into a home, back to stability, and hopefully with the right help, if you have an addiction problem, you figure out why and get that solved. It takes a lot of energy to be homeless for whatever reason. But you have to find the will to fix it for yourself. We can have 1,000 homeless shelters in the same town, but unless you want to better yourself, you're always going to be in one of those shelters. And I don't think anybody really wants that. So use the groups that are there to help you achieve your final goal, but just acknowledge that it's you that have to do the work to get there.
Mhm.
So,
I definitely want to say to Rob, man, congratulations on you having found your place,
yay.
found your
Yeah.
home, and to Eric as well, to you finding your home. I'm still on the road to home, you know what I'm saying? But to
You'll get there.
yeah, you
Yeah.
guys are definitely success stories, and I'm grateful for you all sharing that and for you all being a part because you encourage others that there is a road to home, and maybe
Mhm.
the next time we come on, I want to talk about go over like five of there probably more, but five of the myths and facts about homelessness when we come back on. Maybe we'll come back on next Thursday and continue this series and everything like that. And you all are both welcome to come back if y'all want to. If not next week, then whenever we do a show at any point in time, we'd love to have you come on. And Rob, I see you putting on some weight too, my brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's always
Yeah.
a good sign of healing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So we really appreciate you all coming on this evening. Thank you very much to everyone that have been watching, or those of you that are going to watch later. You've been tuning to Conversations with Whiskey Blue,
And Eric too.
and we thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
Robert. Thank you, Nate.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
I'm gonna end the stream, but if y'all want to hang on 1 second, we can talk a little after stage, or y'all can if y'all want to. But I'm gonna end the live stream now.
All righty.